Keep on breathing. Just keep on breathing. Yeah. We lost PJ, we lost C-Dub, and lost Lil J to these streets, bruh. Got family members on lockdown, I still pray to God to release them. Put my hope in the Father. All these problems just pushing me harder. When I feel like I'm ready to fall out, hit my knees and start crying my heart out. Yeah. Shootouts on the corner, daddy got corona trauma singing us to sleep. Yeah, God ain't raised a quitter, this is not the end and we will never be defeated. No, you don't have to fight these battles on your own. God is in control. You gotta know, it ain't over cause you gotta handle. Let his peace come rushing through your soul. Too many reasons for you just to let go. There's hope. You can't keep going at a rate like this, running for your life when you're meant to live. Gotta keep on breathing, yeah. There's too many reasons.
Hello, everyone. I am so glad that we are able to connect once again. My name is Cyril. I'm the pastor of Passionate Youth Ministry, the youth wing of Living Word Assembly of God, a thriving church in the North York area full of vibrant youth who are not only looking at serving God with their talents, but want to make a difference in our community, want to make impact in our generation. And I'm so happy that you are able to join us. We are live on YouTube as well. For many of you who will be watching this later on, you are in for a treat tonight with our lineup of speakers. I've been waiting patiently for tonight, Youth Career Expo. This is a program that we started not very long ago. We're looking at bringing the best minds, people who are making impact in their various fields of endeavor, as examples, as role models, as tanks of wisdom that will offload to the youth, the upcoming generation, so that they can have good examples, things to look up to, seeing that somebody has done it, it is possible. What are the various avenues that I can also explore? What opportunities are there that I need to be aware of so you don't waste your time going around in circles? That is really the intent for the Youth Career Expo. And I'm so glad tonight for all of you that are on the line. If you can come on video, that will be amazing. So we know we are in good company. So I will really encourage all of you who are on, who can come on video, please come on video so we can have a good time tonight. Well, we're going to start off with a prayer, and we'll move on after prayer into our first session with Coach Tom. And then from Coach Tom, we'll go on to Louis Kim. It's going to be a wonderful evening. So please, if you know someone who needs to be on, you have a friend, you're in grade 11, you're in grade 12, you just started university, whichever level you are, just message someone, say, come on in and come and listen to what is happening here on Youth Career Expo. All right, so we're going to start off with prayer, and I'm going to call Michaela to pray to start off for us. Michaela is one of the volunteers that work with me and several others to lead the youth, and I'm so happy she is on. Michaela, can you take us on in a powerful and quick time of prayer, okay?
Yeah, for sure. Let's just close our eyes. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this time just to grow in knowledge and just to come and hear from you. We pray that even as we come to learn, that you would open our minds, that we would understand, that you would even open our wisdom, God, to receive from you. We know that you care about every aspect of our life, including our careers. So we pray, God, that you would give us everything that we came here for and more. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Wow, that was super quick. Thanks, Michaela. God richly bless you. Now I see more people coming on. Thank you all for coming. Just a little bit of housekeeping as we go along. If you have any questions at any time, please feel free, type it into the chat box. You can message me directly or message the speakers directly into the chat box so that we can facilitate the Q&A session as that comes along. So how is the evening going to be? Like I said, Coach Tom will take us on for about 30 minutes, and then we'll take some questions for him, and then Louis will take us on from there till we close at 9:30. We'll have questions also in between as we go along, okay? So it's my honor really to invite Coach Tom to come speak to us. Now, before he comes, I would like to read something very little about him. Tom Oliveri was the head coach of York University men's basketball team for the year 2002 to 2003 season, and from 2010 to 2017. Coach Olivera was the head coach, Ontario Central Region for Canada Basketball's Center for Performance from 2009 to 2015. He was also the head coach of basketball development for the York South Silver Knights Basketball Club. Coach Olivera began his formal introduction to coach education at York University, where he attained a master's degree in both kinesiology and coaching. He is now a National Coaching Certification Program Level 4 basketball coach, Master Learning Facilitator, Master Evaluator, and Chartered Professional Coach for basketball. He was instrumental in being on Canada Basketball's writing team for the development of the current NCCP program. Coach Olivera has a wealth of camp experience, having worked and run a number of elite basketball camps. Some of these include Toronto Raptors inaugural camp, Butch Carter basketball camp, York University basketball camp, and Nike All-Canada basketball camp. Before coaching at York, he coached and taught for 8 years at Mother Teresa Catholic Secondary School, where his teams won 7 TDCAA championships, an OFSAA bronze medal, and 2 end-of-season top 10 national rankings. Wow. Coach Olivera also coached rep basketball for the YSSK for 11 seasons. In this time, his teams won 4 gold medals, 1 silver, and 2 bronze medals. He recently coached the under-19 YSSK team, which won a prestigious tournament in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. As a head coach of the under-17 Ontario men's provincial team, Coach Oliveri led Ontario to back gold medals at the Canadian Juvenile National Championships in 2002 and 2003. A certified master course conductor, master learning facilitator, and level 4 and 5 certified, he holds the formal designation of a chartered professional coach. Coach Oliveri is currently a certified teacher with the TCDSB, Toronto Catholic District School Board. I think I have that right. That's amazing. Now that puts it in context for all of us, the speaker we are going to listen to. He is a very busy man, as you can tell. We have him, fortunately, for 30 minutes tonight. So please make sure you have all your questions lined up and ready for him. Don't let him go without you asking him that difficult question. Well, Coach Tom, I am very honored to really have you on. This is your audience. Please feel free to pour out anything you think the younger generation need to know based on your experience. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me tonight. It really is an honor. When Belinda and I chatted about the opportunity at first, I said, listen, whatever I can do to give back, count me in, because to me, I've been really blessed to have many opportunities. And if I can, thank you for the introduction and the kind words. I'm humbled when I hear you talk a little bit about some of the things I've done, but I need to explain why I've done what I've done. And, you know, my last couple of years coaching at the university, my staff and we had discussions about where our program was headed. And I was encouraged to put together my core values. And I would strongly encourage all of you at some point, open up a Google Doc, get a piece of paper and a pen, do it old school, and write down what you value the most. Whether it's in your friends, whether it's in yourself, what do you value the most? And what I came up with was this term, and I use it and I try to live it, and that is selflessness. And when one is selfless, one does what they do for others. And, you know, the more I thought about it, the more I said, this is what I want from the people I work with. And I try to give as much of myself as I can to anyone who's in need. So those last couple of years of coaching at the university, anytime I had a recruit who would come to visit us, and that was a common practice at the university, especially in sports, we had some money we could offer. I would have them sit down and say, look, before we go on, I just want you to know, these are our core values, and this is who you need to be if you're going to represent us. And if you're not someone who can be selfless, can give to others, you're probably going to pick the wrong school. So make sure you're okay with that. And a former assistant coach of mine, we were chatting a couple hours ago, and I retold this story. And this story told me exactly where we were with some of the kids we had and why we needed to recruit a different kind of athlete. It was the summer, late August, approximately 6-7 years ago, and we just finished training camp. So in training camp, you practice 2 times a day. So you're looking at about 4 hours of on-court practice, a little bit of dry land training, some strength conditioning. And then we had a team meal. So I say to my 3 seniors, guys, you're eating last. They look at me, what do you mean? Well, why would we eat last? We're seniors. We've earned the right. I said, correct. You've earned the right, and that's why you're going to eat last. Because you're going to learn what it means to be selfless and to give to the new players on the team. And I had to hold them back. And we spoke for a long time afterwards. We talked about leadership. What does it mean to be a leader? And the greatest leaders are the most selfless. They give of themselves till they can't give anymore. And I share this story with you. And as Belinda knows, because I talk a lot when I teach, especially in this Zoom setting where, you know, I have a captive audience. They can't really go anywhere. So I just talk and they listen to me. And every once in a while, we have some interesting conversations. But I talk a lot about the idea and the notion of, are you someone who wants to give of yourself? I've been blessed to have 3 wonderful kids. And Louis, it's really interesting. My son, who's a basketball player, almost attended Redeemer. He was recruited to go there, and he was in training camp right near the end. It just didn't work out. There were some financial concerns, and but he spent a lot of time there. I've been on campus many times. So when I saw you the other speaker, I smiled because I said, it's amazing how we are all connected one way or another, you know. But I'd like to talk to you a little bit when we talk about careers. If I can give you a little bit about my background and who I am, because one of the things it's important to understand is it really doesn't matter where you are today. It matters where you want to be tomorrow. So I'll say that again. It doesn't matter where you are today. What matters is where do you want to be tomorrow? I am the son of 2 immigrant parents. who immigrated to Canada after World War II. My father, God rest his soul, was a World War II prisoner. My family's from Italy, from the south of Italy. And if you know anything about Europe, the southern part of Italy was always the most poorest. And for those of you that have ever studied European history, you know that there was a time during the World War II where the Italians were allies with the Germans, and then that didn't go so well. So Italy was ravished during the war and wasn't left with very much. And my parents picked up, and I was supposed to be an American because all my family had gone to the States. The last second, my family couldn't get into Rochester, so they came to Toronto. And I'm very fortunate that was the case because Toronto's been good to me. So I grew up originally downtown Toronto and then North York. And that move had impacts for the rest of my life. Now, I was not a very good student. And I was a very immature young man, getting myself in trouble a lot growing up. And I grew up in the North York area. I grew up at Dufferin and Wilson and spent my time along that Wilson corridor between Dufferin and Wilson to Keele and Wilson to Jane and Wilson. And this game that's been a huge part of my life, continues to be a big part of my life, came to me accidentally. And I'd like to share that story because I want to talk about what your potential is as young people. Because when you hear people say you can be anything you want, they are not kidding, especially today. And I am living proof of that, and I will tell you why. In grade 9, I tried out for my midget basketball team. I happened to go to an elementary school that had a tremendous boys basketball team to which I didn't play. All my friends played, I didn't play. I was a big, heavy-set kid. I love sports, but it didn't come easy to me. So I went to Dante Alighieri in grade 9 at Dufferin and Lawrence, near the community where some of you might know as Jungle, in that area, not too far. And my high school coach that year took 15 kids. And I was the midget team, and I have a late birthday. I have an October birthday. So he took me as the 15th player. And the only reason he took me, he told me, is because you'll be back next year. So I didn't play maybe more than a minute, and I sat there. And every game, you know, I had hair back then, a lot of it, that kind of went all over the place. And I would fume from the top of my head to my ears, just sitting there. I mean, I wasn't any good, so why should I play? That summer, I said, that's enough. I've had enough. I played and trained every single day. Now, my parents didn't have a lot, so there was no money to go to camp. There was nothing to go, hey, so what did I do? We had a schoolyard. There were two courts, 2 rims. I played rain. I played heat wave. I played every single day. And whoever was there, whoever showed up, I would play against. I got a little bit better every single day. The next year, I'm the captain of the team. Why? Because I improved so much. I'm not sure. I think back, well, how good was I? I don't know. Because I was so bad that I had so much room to grow that, you know, I knew I had to get better. And that love affair began then, right? And it took me to different communities to play. And one of the communities it took me to was Chalk Farm in the Jane, north of Wilson neighborhood. I'm not sure if any of you live in or know of the area. And there was a program at the time run by the Toronto Board of Education. And it was for inner city youth. And I had played with some guys who knew the person hiring, and I got hired to work in that area. And I was young. I was really a peer to those kids. But I learned so much about fitting in, about roles, about community building. And some of those people have become famous, legendary players that I played with. I never lost that love affair, and I knew I wanted to teach from my time in high school. I eventually transferred to C.W. Jeffries. So as I told you, I'm a North York kid, right? I grew up in North York. And the more I thought about the game, the more I thought, where is my impact going to be? I thought, I think I might want to coach. So I kept thinking to myself, how am I going to do this? I like kids. I volunteered in the Jane and Finch community when I went to university. I did my undergraduate degree at York. I tell you, I wasn't a great student. I barely got in. And it really was an act of God that I got in, because my English mark was too low. They had a tutoring program. The gentleman who was tutoring me passed away. So I went to the English department head. I'm in grade 13, because back then there was grade 13. I said, sir, what happened to the teacher who was helping us? You didn't hear? No, he passed away. I said, what am I going to do? I need to go to university. He was going to help me get my English mark up. What's your name? I told him my name. Let me see what I can do. Somehow he boosts my mark up. That guy got me into university. So now here I am. I'm terrified I'm going to flunk out, and I'm working and I'm working and I'm working. And every day, like that time in grade 9, I'm improving my skills. I'm becoming a better reader. I'm becoming more articulate. I'm becoming a better writer. I'm slowly learning how to learn. Oh, we have a former Dante person here. That's great. And I'm slowly developing my skills. Like my jump shot got better 6 years before that, I became a little bit better. And when I had friends who in the summer would go get jobs working construction, making a lot of money. I'd have other friends who go work retail, making a lot of money. Not me. I worked in the community. I worked Parks and Rec. I worked for the City of Toronto. I worked for the Board of Education, always in the North York community with kids. It gave me a chance to play. It gave me a chance to hone the skills I needed to. And then again, here I am. I'm applying to the Faculty of Education. I apply to University of Toronto. I graduate. 9,000 people get in. 9,000 people apply. 900 get in that year. I'm terrified. I have barely a B average. How am I going to get in? But remember all those summers I told you about where I'm working? Volunteering. They had a section where you get to put your resume in. So that resume gets me into Teachers College. And I happen to be fortunate enough, there was a teaching shortage. I get hired at Mother Teresa in Scarborough. A tough neighborhood at the time, but a growing program. And as the expression goes, I get to cut my teeth in coaching. Now, I was an okay player. There's a couple things I could do pretty well, but I wasn't special. Because we all have gifts. And when you think about this, recently the Pope talked about, during the Lenten season, about utilizing our gifts. And I listened to that message because we all have gifts. Some are athletic gifts. Some are the gift of gab. Some are the gift of persuading others. We all have gifts. I started to realize my gift was I could get some people to follow. And in that community, I started to teach and coach. And I had no clue what I was doing. I was 23 years old coaching 18-year-olds, right? So I didn't know what I was doing, but I slowly figured it out. And that led me to opportunities. And the introduction you heard led me to eventually be involved in things like the national team and Team Ontario. I'm one of the few people who was actually offered all 3 coaching jobs in the City of Toronto. And I tell you that not because I say, oh, wow, he's impressed. No. I'm the kid who got cut in grade 9. That same kid, that chubby immigrant kid, had a chance to work at U of T, Ryerson, and held on and got the York job. Your opportunity is up to you. And I'm going to give you something I want you to hold on to. If it's meant to be, it's up to me. Hold on to that. If it's meant to be, it's up to me. You see, today I'm talking to a young man, Ugo, in my class. It's my civics class. And he was early, so we just started talking. And we're talking about what he wants to do and what he wants to be. And he tells me he wants to be a doctor. And I start saying, well, do you know what's involved? A little bit. I said, listen, these are the things you need to do, because if you're serious about it, you got to chase it. And when I decided to chase coaching, I knew what I didn't know. And that becomes one of the first steps. I ask you now, as you start to think about your future plans, find out what you don't know, because that's the number one step. And then go get that information. So for me, this is pre-internet days when I started coaching, right? So I started buying books. If there was a book on coaching, I bought it. And the kid who wasn't a very good student still wasn't a great student, but he loved to learn about things he was passionate about. And that was me. I find out what you don't know. Ask what you don't know. So that led me to eventually do my master's. I was teaching. I had a pretty good salary, had a young family. I took a year off because I knew there was stuff I didn't know about physiology. I didn't know about nutrition. I didn't know about biomechanics. I didn't know about sports psychology. I thought I did, but I didn't. And the more I learned, the more I realized this journey is lifelong. So let's go back, please. The first thing you need to do is find out what you don't know. Then find out who can help you. Who can help you get the answers to those questions? So we had a young lady in our class, Belinda and I, who was taking the class straight from Nigeria. So she was in Nigeria, and think about that for a second. She's poor thing. I felt for her every day because she's trying to join our class and have a conversation, but it's lagging every day. So one day she says to me, "Can you stay back, please?" I said, "Sure. Let's pick tomorrow." We picked. I said, "Okay, what's going on?" "I want to be a doctor." "How do I do it?" I said, "Okay, this is what you're going to do. Where do you want to go?" "I want to come to Toronto." I said, "Okay, these are the programs you need to think about. These are the prerequisites." "I have those, sir." "Okay, good. These are the people you need to contact at these universities." And then we went on that journey, and she stayed in touch with me, and she let me know that she had done all her work. She found out the admission qualifications. She found out the people in each department she had to contact. She found out what she didn't know, and then she went after it. Now, remember this, please. Remember this, please. On your way up, there will be people who help you. Be grateful, be thankful, and don't forget, then it's your turn. You see, once you give, or once you take, excuse me, then it's your turn to give. Because it doesn't just work where you take and take and take. No, there's a difference. And that is the whole selflessness piece. You know, be grateful, be giving, and be thankful. And you're going to have an opportunity today to achieve whatever you want to achieve. It's an amazing world. You know, I told you I have 3 children. My oldest just started a career as a PR, a public relations executive for a firm. She did her undergrad in communications. She did her postgrad at Humber. She's working. Boy, did I pray on that one. Let me tell you, did I pray. My son, he's finishing his marketing diploma. He's an entrepreneur. He's running his own business. And then my little one, she's in social work. And it's funny because she hears me speak often, and she's constantly saying, well, what if I want to become this? And what if I want to become that? I said, you need to get answers. And then how do I do that? Well, this is who you contact, because it's amazing what happens when you reach out to someone and say this, I'd like to do what you're doing one day. How do I go about it? I have assistant coaches who are of my assistant coaches who are now on NBA staffs, who are now CAS head coaches, who are now NCAA head coaches, who are now OCAA head coaches. And I think back, some were extremely grateful and remind me every time we speak how grateful they were for the start. Others, not so much. And I say this when people ask, well, aren't you upset at that individual? You know, they didn't really go out of their way to, no, it's okay. I did what I had to do. And I gave what I could, not because I wanted something in return, because it's the right thing to do. So think again, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. Now, you say to yourself, well, what if I have barriers? What if there's something in my way on my journey? How am I going to overcome? I told you I'm on this email list, and I received this email, not directly from the Pope because we're friends or anything. I'm just part of his email chain, one of probably millions. When you are faced with a crisis, there are two options. A, flight, which means run away, or B, fight. Flight or fight. Now, it doesn't mean physical fist fight. It means show your resolve to not give up, because life is very difficult. Growing up with an Italian family, you would hear this expression. I'll translate in English, and that is, we all have our cross to carry. Christ had his cross, or that he was nailed to, and then had to carry it. We have our own that we carry. It could be hardships from your family. It could be financial hardships. It could be personal hardships. It really doesn't matter, because they can all be overcome. The President of the United States, as a child, spoke with a lisp. He's the President of the United States. President Obama, who's one of the greatest orators, one of the greatest speakers in the history of mankind. He was Socrates of his generation. You know, came from humble beginnings. You can overcome, you can become whatever you want. And it's just not a line. What it is, do you know how to get there? And when you're met with resistance, go around it, go under it, go through it, just get by. Don't allow something to stop you. And that was me in this coaching path, this journey I had. And when the journey ended, I had a choice. I could have chased again, or I thought to myself, where is this last phase of my career? Where do I want it? And I went back to teaching. And here I am connected to you tonight. I'm now on the board of directors with Ontario Basketball. I'm currently rewriting the curriculum for Canada Basketball. They asked me to be on rewrite because it hasn't been refreshed. I'm doing that. I'm doing the work with Ontario Basketball. I'm mentoring a couple of young people in their new positions. And I'm giving back in other ways. And I work with a couple of clubs in coach development and player development. So, you know, it's come full circle for me. It's come, my life, literally, it means like full circle. And here I am speaking to you about, if you saw me at 14, you would have laughed if I told you I would have done what I did. You would have looked at me and you would have been on the ground rolling around. And because I would have been the same thing. A chubby kid who wasn't very coordinated. And man, I laughed because I was just determined. I was just determined. I told my class this story. In my journey, I walked into a big time camp. It was a basketball development camp. And I was helping out at the camp. But I showed up, baseball cap, oversized t-shirt. It was the summer, baggy jean shorts. People looked around. Why is he dressed like that? So what's wrong with that dress? I said, I thought I looked fly. I don't understand. What's the problem when I'm dressed? That's not very, no. It was a certain kind of person who didn't like my quote. I'll phrase it this way. They didn't like my urban flair. If you understand what I'm saying. They didn't like my urban flair. I grew up with the Commodores, Earth, Wind, and Fire. You know, that was my kind of generation, right? It was the great grandfather of your modern hip hop. is what I grew up with. I thought I looked good. And people say to me, yeah, but they're never going to let you get ahead. They're never, because I want to be Team Ontario coach. I would look at them, I'd smile, I'd say, long after they're gone, I'll still be around. I'm just gonna wait them out. That's all. You see, resiliency, and this is my last piece I want to give you. Resiliency is a character trait in today's modern world that you must have. And I speak to my students about this. Racism comes from hate. Hate is taught. So right now in the media, we have a horrible situation in the United States against Asian Americans. And in the summer, we continue to see the emergence of Black Lives Matter because of the hate of African Americans out of ignorance, because it was taught. But what do we know about that? We know that it can be overcome. You see, there was a Black president. You see, there's a first ever female Black vice president. We have counselors in our country, counselors and leaders of business who represent what at one time was a minority group, no longer is. You see, resiliency will get you through hard times. Whether it's people have hate, people discriminate, people don't like your urban flair, people don't like your style, that's their issue. You must be resilient as you go through this journey in life, whether it's a career or not. And my oldest, I live her anxiety when she was thinking, can I get this job? I really want this job. I said, you have to give it your all. And she's not getting paid a ton of money. She's loving every minute of her job. And she's growing every day because of her resiliency. At that, I'm exhausted. I know. It'll pay off one day. How's it going today? I don't know how I'm going to get through today. Yeah, you're going to get through. You're going to get through because of the resiliency you're going to show. You got to let them know that they can't keep this company going without you. But I was just hired. That's right. Everybody starts somewhere. Everybody starts somewhere. But you have to be resilient. I want to share the last vignette with you, not about me, but I want to share with you the vignette of Patrick Ewing. Do I have anyone here of Jamaican descent in this group? Anyone? Anyone in this group? If you have, you turn on your camera, say yeah, or your mic, say me. The reason I tell you is who Patrick Ewing was. Patrick Ewing was born and raised in Jamaica in the 1980s. He was a young athletic player. And at the time, Georgetown, the Georgetown Hoyas, were this incredible American college basketball team. They had urban flair. They had a legendary Black head coach. And they had tough players. They go get this kid who was born and raised in rural Jamaica. And they bring young Patrick Ewing to Washington, D.C., because that's where Georgetown is. And Georgetown's a Catholic university in the United States. He becomes a star there. But his coach, who just passed away, John Thompson, would protect him because he didn't speak well at the time, right? He spoke with a bit of an accent. He didn't have great education at the time. And this is key here. Patrick goes on and becomes a star, gets drafted in the first round by the New York Knicks and has a great career. A 7-footer. He had to go up against Michael Jordan. Otherwise, he would have won multiple championships. But that's not what the story's about. He then wants to become a coach. Patrick wants to be an NBA head coach. So how do you become an NBA coach? You become an NBA assistant coach. He becomes an NBA assistant coach on one staff. Nobody will interview him. He becomes an NBA assistant coach on another. Nobody will give him a shot. He's now in the league for over 12, 13 years. And they won't give him a shot because some people felt, well, centers, because he's 7 foot, right? 7 foot tall. Centers don't make, the stereotype. Centers don't make great coaches. Again, someone's telling him what he can't do. He's like, oh yeah, no problem. Meanwhile, his alma mater, Georgetown is in hard times. 4 years ago, they go to him. Patrick, will you coach our team? You came here, you were a star here. When you were here, we won championships. When you were here, we were one of the best programs in America. He thought about it, says, okay, I'll take it. Year one, they struggle. Year two, they grow a little bit, but they're not great. Last year, some of their best players transferred to another school. People are talking, maybe they made a mistake. This year, in order to qualify for the NCAA tournament, which is on right now, they call it March Madness, his team goes in to the tournament ranked 8th. They only won 8 games all year. They win the first round game. That team they played wasn't very good. He's not that good of a coach. They win the second game by 15 points. Now, round 3, well, after all, this is the game that everyone's going to see. They win round 3. They're now in the finals. People are paying attention. And people are starting to say now the truth. Patrick, how do you feel about those people that said you didn't have the pedigree to be a head coach? He said, I don't want to say a word right now. We have one more to win because we plan on going to the tournament. They blow out the team they play in the Big East tournament, and I believe they're playing tomorrow in the NCAA tournament. He took a team that everybody else thought was done and took them back to the NCAA tournament. You see, Patrick was resilient. Like a lot of people, an immigrant to a country where a lot of people say you can't. The way you look, the way you talk, the way you act. He was dancing with his team. He was singing with his team. He was being himself. But what he was resilient. And as life puts up roadblocks for you, as life gives you the proverbial speed bump, you may have to slow down. But you have to keep on that journey because that journey will get you to where you need to go. So I want you to think about those things that we chatted about tonight. Feel free to give my email. And if you need anything from me, just reach out. Remind me, hey, I heard you speak at this conference and would like some advice. And if I can help in any way, I'd be glad to. Because what's important is that when you get some help along the way, that you don't forget it's your turn next time. Being selfless is why we're on this planet. To give back, to give the opportunity to open doors when doors are closed for others. And I know I've been very fortunate. Yes, I worked hard to get what I achieved, without a doubt. I worked hard and I sacrificed. But I also was fortunate because others did give me opportunities. And for that, I'm very thankful. Questions. Does anyone have any questions about anything regarding any topic? Anybody, please. Just turn on your mic and ask. Anybody? Anything come to mind? Anything you're interested in? One of the things I should share with you, one of my jobs as a university head coach was recruiting student athletes. So I became very familiar with many programs across the country because they were my competitors. We would often recruit, right? We would often recruit similar athletes. So I had to know what other schools had to offer. Do you know that there's more than one way to get to university? So you could, for example, get really good marks and then go straight to university. Or you could go to college, get a program where there's a bridge program and use that program to get you to university. You could get life experience, work experience, and then go as a mature student. You see, the idea of university in Canada, and this is the beauty of this country, the door is never really closed if what you want is to get there. And my parents preached education because my parents didn't have education, right? They came from rural, simple beginnings. And it took me a while. Sometimes, you know, I'm not the first one on the bus. I wait till the last stop to get on. That's a little bit of just how I roll sometimes. But I eventually got on, and I encourage you to kind of keep chugging along, because doors open often. I'm not sure if there are any questions. No.
No questions so far. I do have one for you though.
Please.
First of all, thank you so much. This has been super amazing. I like how you poured out your heart here. Question in terms of, I'm thinking of some of the youth on the line who are good in sports, right? And I'm wondering, I'm very good. I have a heart for this. I have a passion for this. My parent wants me to become a medical doctor, for instance, right? What would you have to say to that youth? How do they deal with a situation like that? And if some of the parents are here or would watch this later, what do you have to say to them?
So somebody says, I feel that. Right. Let me tell you, I remember, I won't give his last name, but I recruited Richard, and Richard was from Brampton. And Richard's parents, like many parents, they were new to the country. They were of African descent, and they wanted their son to be a doctor. And Richard didn't know if he was going to be a doctor or a physiotherapist, but he was an outstanding student. And what I spoke to him about was Dr. Peskin. He says, well, who's that, coach? I said, he's an orthopedic surgeon down in Toronto General. He's also a student at our school 5 years ago. And he's an academic All-Canadian. And he was a 3-year starter for us and a captain on our team. I said, you can come and play for us and become a doctor. Well, how do I do that? I said, we have a program, and I explained the program. He says, well, my mom was talking about MAC. I said, yeah, they have life sciences. I said, we have kinesiology and science. I said, there's different programs you can take. The key becomes, can you balance your time? Can you organize your time? You see, if what you want, or maybe what your parents want, maybe it's a balance. Richard's now, by the way, a physiotherapist. He's a licensed certified physiotherapist. And what I did was I connected him to some professionals in the industry. He got work experience that helped him get into physio school. He was already an outstanding student. He did really well. And I'm sure he made his mom proud and his dad proud because he worked his tail off. I tell you this because there's ways to do it. You see, there's ways to do it. Understand there's information you don't know. So I don't know if you know this, but in order to become a doctor, you need to take a pre-exam, right? Well, that pre-exam has courses you have to have taken. Some schools like Queen's, like McMaster, like York, like U of T, they have we don't have pre-med, but it's our version of pre-med because there's courses in biology, there's courses in chemistry, there's courses in anatomy that you have to take in order to qualify for the application. And you need really good marks. Now, some people I coached did that and were student athletes. That's not easy. Like Richard, Dr. Peskin, they were incredible workers. They worked and worked and worked. And they sacrificed social lives, going out, partying. They sacrificed all that because they had a goal in mind and they were driven. So I understand that some of your parents are extremely driven for you. They have goals for you. If the goals are yours and the passion is yours, just find out how you get there. And don't let anyone, please, don't let anyone tell you you can't get there. You know, the number of teachers who told me, I don't know if you can go to university. Yeah. There was always one or two who believed in me, and that's all I needed. But I can tell you who believed in me the most. I was myself. That inner belief is what you need. That fire has to burn, because that fire is going to keep that train going, and that train is you. You know, I did a master's in kinesiology, which is biomechanics. I took grade 9 general applied science. I went back and I learned. Eventually that brain started to function better, and I worked harder, and I stopped being lazy, and I got myself in gear. You see, you're capable of so much, but believe in yourself. Believe in yourself, you know, and if what you want is to be a healthcare professional, you can do it. See, because I don't know if you know this, but the male brain and the female brain don't stop growing till you're an adult. You see, that's what's key, is your potential. You're not even close to it. You know, it's like driving from Toronto to Vancouver. You're still in Ontario. You haven't reached Manitoba yet. Saskatchewan. And you're still in Ontario. You're still figuring out how do I get there? It's not through Windsor. How am I going to get there? Maybe I got to go north. That's what you're still figuring out. Remember, if it gets hard, that's okay. Resiliency. So thank you for that question. Let me see, there's maybe another one in the chat. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, wow. This has been amazing. Really, really amazing. Thank you so much, Coach Tom. I'm very, very glad that we're able to get you to come, and that you've been able to pour out your heart to us in this session. Now, all of you youth that are on, I see hand claps. People have really soaked in what you said, and it's only a matter of time. We'll be looking for Coach Tom in few years to come to say thank you, thank you, thank you. You made me believe in myself. You made me believe in myself. You answered most of the questions throughout. Thank you so much. Very, very, very grateful. Like he's mentioned, we have his contact. We'll make his contact available for any of you that have some questions. You want to talk to him personally about some specific things you didn't want to talk about here, please reach out to myself. We will make sure that we connect you to him. As you can see, his passion is selflessness. He wants in any way possible to give back and pour into the younger generation. Thank you. And we're very, very glad you came on. All right. So we want to move on, everyone, in our session tonight. We're going into the second half of our Career Expo. We have a speaker who is also an admissions counselor from Redeemer University. And I am going to, if you would allow me, going to read up something about what he is going to talk to us tonight. Louis Kim, he is an admissions counselor for church engagement at Redeemer University. Some already know their plans post-high school graduation, and some have no idea. In this session, we will be taking a step back and examining big questions like, who are you? What is your calling? What career path should you take? This will be a practical guide to start figuring out what's next. We will also explore the subject of Christian education and why it may be the right fit for you. In addition to that, we will take a look at what Redeemer has to offer and the various career paths that you can follow after graduation. I had a session with Luis prior to him coming on, and he has an interesting career path as well. Let him talk a little bit about it when he comes on, before he takes us through what he has for us tonight. But I know you are going to get some insights that will add on to what Coach Tom has already delivered to us. Luis, it's my pleasure to have you on Career Expo.
Hi, everybody. How's everybody doing? I really enjoyed, I know Coach Tom has had to go, but I really enjoyed it. I like the shout out at the beginning. Also, I could relate with him, being an immigrant myself, who loved basketball, who is chubby, and who got cut from the grade 9 team as well. So I could totally resonate. I didn't end up being a coach, but definitely still love the game. So I really enjoyed his talk, and hopefully you were inspired like I was in terms of his encouragement to be resilient. If you have a passion, if you have obstacles in your life, to keep, once you kind of know what you want to do, to keep pushing forward. So I was encouraged by that, and I hope that you were encouraged. Today it's going to be twofold, as Cyril kind of introduced me. Thank you for that. The first half of my chat today, hopefully it'll be interactive. So I'm going to ask you to do something that you're not going to want to do. And if you don't want to do it, that's okay. I know you just met me, but if you could turn on your cameras, that would be awesome for me. And there's a reason for it. If not, you can just use your chat function and just put yes or no to the questions that I'm going to be asking. If you are having your camera on, for a yes, I just want you to raise your hand. That'll be a yes. So as I look across the gallery, this will be a yes. And then if you touch your nose, that'll be a no to the question. Okay. So some of you, who knows what your future plans, I believe a lot of you are in high school. Even if you're not, do you know what's going to happen in the future? Right. So give me a yes or a no. So do you know what your plans are going to be after high school? So yes or a no. All right, let's see if anybody listened to me. Put on your cameras. I'm seeing a lot of profile pictures. That's okay. Let's see it. Yes, yes, no. Okay, awesome. Hey, there's a lot of yeses popping up there. That's amazing. Okay, and that's really good. For those that are no, don't be dismayed. You're not alone. There's a lot of people that I talk to, that my colleagues talk to, that are thinking about, they're in high school and exactly in your same position or a similar position. No idea where they want to go. So I'm not going to provide, I can't guarantee you after 20 minutes of talking about this and then talking about something else that you're going to have an answer to this, but I hope that this will be helpful. If it's not, I apologize in advance, but I think, hopefully if you engage into it, hopefully, you'll be encouraged in some way. Okay. So one of the things that I want you to think about too is this question of who are you? Are you just somebody that's good at basketball? Are you just somebody that's good at video games? Are you somebody that's just, a poor student? Are you somebody that's, have been, raised to not really have a high self-esteem? Are you somebody that, you feel sorry for yourself? That kind of idea. Who are you? The other question I want you to think about is, what are you supposed to do with your life? I think that's a daunting question that we face when we were in high school. I remember when I was in high school many years ago, I was like, what am I supposed to do? In my household, being in an immigrant family, I have parents that are, both of my parents are Korean. I was born here in Canada. And one of the things I was given was I have to go to university. Nothing against college, but for my parents, they didn't, like, as Tom mentioned, his parents pushed education because they didn't have it. Similar situation with my parents. They've had some, but they really wanted me, hey, you don't have a choice, Louis. We're going to pay for you to go to university. You're going. We don't have much money, but we're gonna make it happen, and you're going. So for me, still, I didn't know where I was going to go. I didn't know what I was supposed to do. I was decent in school, but I wasn't the greatest student. And this idea of what am I supposed to do with my life? And in the Christian kind of circles, this idea of calling is a daunting thing. What am I called to do? Why did God put me on this earth? And it's a deep question, right? And some of you are 16, 17, you're thinking, this is deep, this is too much. But some of you are thinking, hey, I've been thinking about this since I was 13, Louis. This is something like, you don't know my situation, but this is something that has been, on my heart and it's been stressing me out, especially those that are in grade 11, grade 12, thinking, hey, like what am I going to do after high school? So another yes or no question I want you to do just to kind of lighten. I know I threw some deep stuff at you. So I just want to do this activity just to get you thinking a little bit. So if you could participate in the chat, thank you for doing that. Or just putting your hand up for a yes, no's for a no. So when I think of my future, and I want you to be honest here, we have a youth pastor here, so you need to be honest. When I think of my future, I know what I want to do. So exactly like when I think of it, what is it that I want to do? So I want you to think about that. So do you know what you want to do? I know I kind of asked that question already. All right. So, oh, there we go. All right. So to go off that, and let's be honest, I want to help people. Yes or no? And again, I'm not going to judge you here. Just everybody has, an answer here. In my future career, I want to help people. Not everybody's necessarily a part of that in terms of your daily job. Okay, let's see. Okay, a couple of yeses, couple of no's, couple of yeses. All right, I want to help people. I want to work in the sciences. I was pretty decent in high school in science, especially in the lower levels, grade 9, grade 10, grade 11. But once grade 12 kind of came around, I'm like, maybe this is not for me. So for me, who wants to work in the sciences? All right. Yes. No. So we're getting a couple of no's, a couple of yes, kind of. All right. Cool. Hey, it's more than I thought. It's important to. Okay, this is a tough one. This is going to require some honesty, and I'm not going to judge you. Completely not going to judge you. Is this? And just to give you a heads up too, I don't know if this really matters, but I love young people like yourself. Before my job here at Redeemer, I've been here for about 2 years. I was youth pastor as well. And youth ministry was something that really shaped my life, really was something that really was such a blessing being a part of. And you might be wondering, Louis, how are you at Redeemer University working as a counselor? That's completely different. And to be honest, the really short answer is that I believe for whatever reason, God kind of gave me an open door and kind of pushed me through it. And to me, again, I can't talk about my story, but I'm pretty sure, I misspoke. I'm 100% sure. Sometimes I feel that I'm not 100% sure in a day when I think about, how did I end up here? How come I'm not working at a church right now, right? But I'm 100% sure God knows what He's doing, and I'm listening to, and I'm being obedient to that. And I do love my job. But it's not where I thought I would be 2 years ago. That being said, we'll move on. So the question is this: it's important to me that I make a lot of money. So let's be honest. Okay. I remember in university, I studied business in university. Money was one of the reasons. And to me, I don't think it was necessarily a selfish reason, because I really wanted to be a blessing to my family, my parents, who didn't really have a lot of money, but they always paid for everything that I needed. Maybe not what I wanted. When I wanted my PS1, when you guys weren't even born, when PS1 came out. But when PS1 came out, I wanted it. Did I need it? No. Right? But my parents, sacrificed a lot. And for me, that's one of the reasons, hey, you know what? I want to make money so that they can actually take a vacation. I grew up in a family, we never took vacations. So I was like, hey, you know what? I want to make some money, and I want to, give back to my family. All right, next question. I want to travel in my future job. I know right now it's a little bit, there's a couple of no's, okay. And I think especially with COVID, that's a difficult one. I know some people that, like my wife, she loves to travel. And because of COVID, it's been hard, right? Because of that, she has family over in Hong Kong. We're not able to, do our yearly trip there. But, for some of us, traveling wants to be, I want that to be a part of my job. I want to go to different countries and do work there. And lastly, when I picture my dream job, I know what schooling is necessary to get there. So kind of off of what kind of Tom was mentioning, it's just like if there's some things that you don't know, you got to find those answers, right? All right. Yes. A lot of yeses. Awesome. Okay. And probably the most important question, I wish Coach Tom was here for this one. Do you think the Raptors are going to make the playoffs this year? There's a lot of noses getting touched. For me, to be honest, when we went on our streak, I'm a big Raptors fan. When we went on our streak, I thought for sure we're going to make the playoffs. people were saying, yeah, we're going to get in 8th seed. I'm like, no, we're going to be in 6th seed, maybe 5th seed, 5th or 4th. Right now, the stuff that we're going on, it's sad. I really hope we don't trade away Kyle, but if we have to, we have to. But anyways, so I just wanted to kind of get us in the frame of mind. I'm going to share my screen with us, and we're going to kind of work through a bunch of things right now. And I just want it to be a useful time. So please try to be honest and engage in it as much as possible. Just use the chat as well. Just give me a second here. Just give me a second. There we go. Okay. Can you see that? All right, awesome. So today we're going to be looking at vocation and calling. It's this idea of these two words, and I want you to think about, and I think it's a good a topic to talk about, and this is what I'll probably spend most of my time kind of going through, a practical kind of thing. So these 3 different things I want you to consider: passions, talents, and needs. So passions, when I'm talking about passions, I'm talking about this. What do I like? What excites me? Who inspires me? What can I spend hours doing? So for me, when I was your age, I loved playing video games. I love watching TV. I love playing basketball. Super passionate about those things. Okay. Also too, I was actually passionate about sneakers. So before, especially basketball sneakers, before a sneakerhead was a term, for me, it was my parents didn't have a lot of money. They gave me 1 pair of shoes a year, and I had to wear them year round. But for me, it was a basketball shoe that I was going to pick up. Dad, what's the budget? I'm going to just, back then we didn't have the internet, but that was me. I would get my shoes. I'd be watching NBA basketball on the weekend, wearing my new shoes in my bed, right? But for me, I was passionate about that. Talents. Where am I gifted? Are people naturally drawn towards me? Do I love numbers and data? What are some of my talents? What am I good at? And I think as a young person, if you ask me that question, I would say I'm not good at much, right? Even as a young adult, when people ask me, hey, Louis, what are you good at? I would always kind of focus on the negative. I'm okay at this, but I'm not that good. There's always someone better than us, right? But as I grew up, I realized, you know what? It's okay for me to say I'm good at something, right? It's okay for me to be honest with somebody, say, hey, you know what? I'm actually, when I was in grade 9, I was actually pretty good at math. Grade 10 was a little blip on the radar. I did pretty bad in grade 10 for some reason. But in grade 11, I showed again, I'm pretty good at math. So if I'm honest with you and you say, hey, Louis, what are you good at? I'm pretty good at math. Needs. Where do I see people or places in need? Especially during, a COVID, there's a lot of need out there. Even before COVID, there's a lot of need. There's a lot of pain in the world. And this is just a lot of need. And what are some other places kind of on top of that the hope of Jesus is needed, whether that's in our schools, whether that's even in our churches, whether that's in our homes that we live in. What are some of the needs that we see? All right. So I want you to see, do you see these 3 circles? Yeah, you see these 3 circles: passions, needs, and talents. I want you to think about this. So imagine if you had, I'm trying to get you think about different professions, right? So in terms of different jobs that you may, consider. Some of you, you kind of know what you want to do. You're not 100% sure. Some of you don't know what you want to do. So I want you to think about this. So imagine, just pick to cover. Let's take out talents. So we're just looking at. So what I would do if I was in person, I would cover that circle, make you cover that circle of talents, and focus on passions and needs. So let's say you're super passionate about helping people. Yeah. So people that are sick or people that are hurting, you're super passionate about that. You want to help them. And, living in a time where we are living currently speaking, there's a need for somebody like that. Somebody that's going to help people that are sick. So this idea of, hey, you know what? Maybe I should be a surgeon. I want to help people. When I see sick people, I have this, my heart pulls for them, and I see this need, and for some reason, I just come into contact with a lot of people that need somebody to help them. maybe I should be a surgeon. But again, just let me preface this by saying, this is not an equation where I say if you don't meet up to these things that this is, I shouldn't be this. That's not what I'm saying. I think this is just a helpful tool to kind of get you thinking about these things, right? So let's say I have a really shaky hand. I don't have good nerves, and my hand shakes all the time. I can't keep it steady. I don't have a talent of a steady hand. I might need to think about that when I want to be a surgeon or even a dentist. I remember my friend in university who's going to dental school. I don't know if you ever know one of the tests is you get a bar of soap in the mail. You get one shot at this bar of soap, and you gotta carve it into a certain shape, right? So you need to have a very steady hand. You cannot cheat on this thing. If you shake a little bit while you're cutting, there goes your bar of soap. You can't replace that. You got to do it again. You got to send it in for it again. So this idea is that not to say something that you can work on, but just this idea that something to consider before you become your heart set on being a surgeon. Do you have the talent, or can you develop that talent? All right. The next thing too is, for example, let's take out the passion and let's focus on needs and talents. So right now, one of the things that's certain is that when you grow up, you're going to have to, and then when you start working, you're going to have to do taxes. So you're going to have a need for someone to do your taxes or you to do your taxes. Okay. And for example, like I mentioned, for me, I was in grade 9, grade 10, grade 11, grade 12, pretty good at math. So let's say I'm really good with numbers. That could be some of us now. I studied accounting in school, and I said, hey, you know what? Maybe I should be an accountant. There's a need, people, I could get a job because everybody needs to do their taxes. They'll call me up and say, Louis, help me do your taxes. You're great with numbers. But imagine this. Let's take out the equation. Let's take out the top passions things out of the equation. What if I don't want to be an accountant? What if the idea of me being an accountant, I just have it doesn't make me happy. I don't want to do it. But should I be an accountant because I'm really good with numbers? It's a job where I can make a lot of money. Does it necessarily mean I should be an accountant? All right, and the last thing, and not least example is this idea of passions and talents. Just say you really love sweets. Who loves sweets here? There we go. All right, so just say you love sweets. And so you love sweets, and you're really passionate about popsicles. You love popsicles. My son, he loves popsicles. He's 3 years old. He loves popsicles. All right. I tell him if he wants to eat a popsicle, he has to brush his teeth. He doesn't want to brush his teeth. He still gets the popsicle. All right. So he's passionate about popsicles, my son. And he's, let's say he's pretty good with his hands, which he is. With his Legos, he's pretty good with his Legos, and he has that skill. So this idea that, hey, you know what? If my son came up to me and in about 15 years and says, hey, Dad, I'm really passionate about popsicles still, and I'm really talented, and look at the thing I built with my Lego. And my son says to me, hey, Dad, I want to be a professional popsicle house builder. I'm gonna eat the popsicles, enjoy that, grab the stick, build a house out of it, and sell it and make money. So I wanted. What I would do after I would stop freaking out, I would say to my son, is there a need for this? Can you actually make money doing this? I know you love it. I know you're good at it, but could you, what's the point of this job? Is there a demand for it? Not to kill his dream right there, but I would want him to think about that. All right, cool. We're going to move on. I want you to look at this sheet. I know it'd be easier to do this something like this in person, but I want you to think about this. In each one of these categories, I challenge you now to think of an answer here. These are just kind of some funny potential answers. So who is a person that you're passionate about, right? For me, I would put Kobe Bryant. I was a big Kobe Bryant fan. I was a big Michael Jordan fan. And I love basketball. So those are people that, who I like to follow, right? Stories. What are some of the stories that you love? It doesn't have to be, I know youth pastors here, you don't have to say a Bible story or anything like that, but think of a story that you love, whether it's Lord of the Rings, whether it's Hunger Games, whether it's, a novel, whether it's, Romeo and Juliet, whatever it may be. Think about the places that you're passionate about. I'll go, any outdoorsy people here? Algonquin Park, waterfalls. I love going to the mall. You know, I love going to church. You know, what are some of the activities that I'm passionate about? Whether that's figure skating, whether that's playing soccer, whether that's drawing, whether that's, you know, writing poetry. What are some of the subjects that you're passionate about at school? I want you to think about that, okay? So if you can fill it, you know, if I was in person, you'd be filling this in, and I'd be staring at you and then just kind of encouraging you to finish that whole box of, I can't even count, 3, my math isn't good right now, 18 boxes, right? And what are some of the jobs that you're, you know, as you're thinking about jobs, what are some of the jobs that you're passionate about? For me, growing up, I wanted to be a professional goaltender. I wanted to be in the NBA, and I wanted to own a business, maybe like my parents do. You know, they grew up owning a variety store. That's probably something that, you know, something that I knew, that I was familiar with, that maybe I thought maybe that was for me. Okay, we're gonna move on for the sake of time. Talents. So let's be real about our talents. And I want us to think about the top row there. It's honest self. So just being honest in terms of your own opinion. You know, what are you talented at? What are some of the subjects that you're good at? In terms of people skills, what are you good at? I realized I thought I was a good listener. Then I got married, and then I realized I'm not a very good listener. All right. In terms of creativity, you know, am I good at drawing? Am I good at singing? Am I good at writing? Am I good at problem solving? You know, and the second column that I want you to think about this, and for me, I had a hard time growing up, was to be honest with myself and to know I don't know what I'm good at. So I want you to think about this. And as I grew up, one of the things that helped me to be real and to kind of understand this need to be honest and to understand what I'm good at is to kind of figure out what I'm good at. That may indicate where I'm called to be. So others, what do others say about me? So what does your youth pastor, Cyril, say about you? You know, Michaela's really good at this. You know, Lydia, I know she's really good at these subjects at school. You know, Belinda and Gabriel, you know, they're very good listeners. You know, but like if I ask Gabriel, what are you good at? He'd be like, oh no, I'm not good at anything like that. You know, potentially, right? And lastly, and I think this is an important thing, what do I want to be good at? If we were worshiping together and we were in person and we were worshiping as a part of this night, you would know that I'm not a good singer, but I want to be a good singer. I love music. You know, I'm tone deaf. I can't sing, but I love worshiping the Lord. I love listening to worship music. I love listening to non-Christian music as well. Even when I was listening to the music at the beginning of this event, I was like, these are some good songs, right? I just trying not to shake my head, but I was like, this is nice. This is great music. So what are some of the subjects that exactly what you know Coach Tom was talking about? I think it's linked together. You know, I wasn't really a good student, but he learned to push through it. That was an obstacle. He learned he wanted to go somewhere. He knew what he had to do. He improved. He worked hard. All right, we're gonna move on to the next one. All right, needs. So what are some of the things that upset you? What are some of the places that need help? That you think of, hey, this place needs help. It could be your school, it could be your neighborhood. What are some of the people that need help? It could be a people group, it could be you know, refugees somewhere they need help, or it could be, you know, some of your friends, they need a lot of help. And lastly, what are some of the things that the world needs more of? So this idea of thinking about needs, thinking about, you know, what am I going to do with my life? And think about, you know, where has God put me? What community am I in? What are some of the needs there? What can I do to help? One of the things I was impressed by Coach Tom was he was saying that, hey, like, I accomplished a lot, but now I know, like, that wasn't just me. A lot of people helped me to get where I am, and I want to help other people get to where they need to go. Right? So being able to say, what are the needs around me? What can I do to help those people do get these things? All right. I know I'm rushing you a little bit, but I want you to think about these things. So what are you passionate about? What are some of the needs that are around you that are kind of on your radar? And what are some of the things that you're good at? And in that middle, that little, I don't know what shape that is, that little kind of triangle overlap where it's like a certain color, that's the idea where if you can find that sweet spot, that may be, you know, not a guaranteed, you know, calculation, but that may be where God is calling you. just something to consider. And I want to talk about this really quickly before we kind of move on to the next segment of today's talk. This idea of calling, vocation, and career. So we're going to start kind of on small scale and talk about career. So basically, you know, what you're going to be doing for a living. So whether that's a garbage man, whether that's a music teacher, whether that is education teacher, whether that is a businessman, whether that is a social influencer on YouTube, whatever you decide, that's your career. So that's a little aqua circle there, if you can see that. Can you guys see that in a small circle that says career? So sometimes when we think of calling, we just kind of focus on career, but I want you to think a little bit outside of that circle and think about vocation. And before I started working at Redeemer, I didn't really think of it this way. I kind of did, but like I feel like this is a good example of explaining this. This idea of vocation is like this idea. Vocation, when I think of it, I think of work. So when I first heard the word vocation, I think of vocation as a career, right? But in this definition, I think this is helpful, saying, hey, this is kind of like it involves the action of working, but it's working out the calling in a meaningful and a meaningful way. So this idea of vocation is these are locations, these are things where I can work out my calling. So basically, what is God wanting me to do to make money? What is God wanting me to do in my church? And these are just 4 examples. There's a lot more areas, right? Small and big. Whether it's on a sports team. Some of you, Cyril was saying that some of you play sports. What is God calling me to do on my basketball team, on my soccer team, my neighborhood, my family? And then lastly, this idea of calling kind of encompasses all of these things. So I just want to kind of challenge you to think that way, where it's this idea of, hey, like a job is super important, but it's just a part of what God is calling you to do. You are more than your job, right? You know, I remember when I was a youth pastor, I loved doing it, but sometimes I had to remind myself, Louis, if you weren't a youth pastor, if you were a garbage man, God would love you same amount. Your job is just as important. But the question is, where does God want you to be in this time of your life? Does he want me to be a garbage man? I don't think so. Nothing wrong with being a garbage man, right? Where is God calling me? For me, I love youth ministry. I love, and there's a reason I don't have time to get into it, but you know, it's changed my life. I'm passionate about it. Young people. But for me, God said, hey, Louis, I'm asking you to go somewhere else. It was uncomfortable. I didn't want to do it. It didn't happen the way that I wanted it to happen. But when I thought about it and I reflected and I prayed on it, I was pretty sure that God knew what he was doing. And at this point in my life, I said, you know what? I'm going to trust God. And it all worked out, right? So my job at Redeemer is a kind of combination of my schooling and a combination of my passion for young people and helping young people discover where God is calling them to, you know, calling them where God is calling them to go, but also who God is calling them to be. So it's a great combination of both things. And I'm privileged to be here talking to you about this. One of the great things about my job is I get to, you know, before COVID, go to visit a lot of churches in the GTA and be able to speak to young people and be able to worship alongside young people and see young people growing their faith. Okay, so let's see, give me a second. So I'm just going to quickly, you know, jump over this. I believe in the, you know, in the Word of God, but we're not going to read all of this. But I just want to just give you a little context for calling. I know Jeremiah 29 is a verse that we, you know, you probably know. If you don't, that's fine. And I'm just going to read the top part for us and just kind of lay a little groundwork. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you, not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. We also see that this promise is given in the context of people in exile. They are not where they want to be. They've been banished from their own country, from their own home, yet they're given a very specific calling. And verse 5 goes on to read, this is what they're supposed to do in their current circumstance. Build houses, settle down, plant gardens, eat what they produce, marry, have sons, have families, and it goes on. Seek peace, do these things. So this is just a kind of a reminder, this idea that sometimes when we're discovering where God is calling us, we're in a certain situation where we may not be in our dream job. We may not be exactly where, but does that mean that we should stop really going after where God is calling us? I remember graduating university, and I remember it was a discouraging process. I thought, hey, I worked hard in school. My grades weren't great. They didn't reflect it, but I worked hard, and I felt like, you know what? I just want to get a job. I feel like I deserve that. I worked hard at university, and I feel like I should be able to get a job. It wasn't easy. And I remember many years of, I just felt like I was underperforming. I was a disappointment to myself and to my parents. My parents supported me in university, and I'm in a job where I'm not using my degree. And I could have got this job with my high school degree, or even without a high school degree. Why am I here? But this idea that, I don't know exactly, what's happening in your own life, but I can just share a little bit about mine. It's the idea that even though I'm not exactly where I want to be, God is calling us to really seek after him, to really depend on him and say, hey, do you trust me with your future? Right? Do you really trust me with what's happening? And are you going to make the choices that are going to get you to where you need to go? All right, cool. All right, here we go. So I'm going to read a couple of things just in terms of what others say about calling, which I think would be an encouragement to us today. One is not called to be a Christian in general. One is called to be a Christian in the concrete social locations one presently occupies. As this mother to these children, this citizen of this country, and so on. One is not merely called to be a wife, a husband, or a mechanic. One is called to be a wife, a husband, or a mechanic as a Christian in the Lord. Douglas James Sherman. Calling. This is another quote by Frederick, I don't know how to pronounce that, Buchner. The place God calls you is a place where your deep gladness and the world's deep hunger meets. And I think this is my favorite one out of the three. There's not a square inch in the whole domain of human existence over which Christ, who is sovereign over all, does not cry, mine. So this idea of God wants to be involved in every aspect of our life. So when I'm at church on Sundays, when I'm in youth group, when I'm on my soccer team, when I'm in my piano lesson, when I'm in my math class, trying to stay awake, when I'm, with my friends, we're hanging out outside because we can't hang out anywhere else because of COVID, wherever it may be, this idea that God wants to be involved in all of these areas of our life. And this is the last one, and we'll move on, and then we'll do about 10 minutes in terms of a little bit about what Redeemer has to offer, and in terms of why a Christian university. Just trying to give you a little bit of context there. But this idea of we're all called to love God with all we have. We're all, it's a commandment in the Bible, and love God with everything you have, and love everybody as you want to be loved. So because of that, we can't just be people that say, hey, I'm only going to be, and I can say this because this is what I used to live out when I was in high school, was I was, I put in a compartment on a Sunday. That's when I really thought about God. That's when I thought about, that's when I was a Christian. But Monday to Saturday, you couldn't tell that I was a Christian. Just on Sunday, I was sitting there, doing my thing. I like going to church. My parents didn't force me, but this idea that outside of that, I didn't really, I knew it wasn't right, but that's how I lived my life. I grew up in the church. I went to church Sunday, every Sunday, but still Monday, Saturday, sorry, God, you don't belong here. Sunday, I'm going to do my thing, come to church, and then go home and then feel good. And then, come back next week. Right. So this idea of, God doesn't want to just be put in a little box like that. So this idea of he wants to be involved in everything. So in terms of our career, he wants us to involve him in that. In terms of our decisions of what am I going to be? Where am I going to go to school? Right? Or what am I going to do after I graduate? School is not the only option. I know I work for a university. School is not the only option, right? Taking a gap year is something that's a lot more popular, and I think it's right for certain students. For me, to be honest, back then, it wasn't really an option in terms of my family, but a gap year probably would have served me well. I had an extra year. It was built in when I was in high school at grade 13, right? I probably needed a grade 14, to be honest, because I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And one of the other things that I was kind of throwing in for free, a little piece of advice, to you guys before we kind of go into something else, is this idea that for any big decision, right, whether you choose to go to a Christian university, whether you choose to go to university at all, whether you choose to do a gap year, to involve God in big decisions in your life. Small decisions too, but big decisions as well. Something that I regret when I was in grade 13. I was a Christian. I believed in God. I had a relationship with Jesus, but I didn't fully understand what it meant to be a Christian. And it's one of my regrets. I did not pray about it, right? But God, and I look back on my life, God had a plan. And even though I was disobedient, even though I didn't ask him for his advice on where I needed to go, he did it. But if I could go back and how I brought on my life now, when it comes to a big decision, that's the first thing that I do. God, like what, like, I remember in my career change when I left ministry, what am I supposed to do now, God? I thought I thought I was going to be a youth pastor for the rest of my life. Is this what you want from me? And God confirmed that fairly quickly. Still uncomfortable. I miss my kids. I miss going to youth, and I miss being silly and just being real with young people, encouraging young people, coaching young people about life and faith. I miss that. All right, cool. I could talk forever, but we are going to move on. Do you see this logo here? Do you see that? All right, cool. So a little bit about our school, and a little bit about Christian University. I didn't know about Christian University. I grew up in the church my whole life. I thought Bible college we're not a Bible college, but I thought Bible college was only for pastors and for missionaries. So I thought education outside of high school, if it was a Christian education, it was for a specific purpose of going into ministry, being a missionary. That's what I thought. And it wasn't until a lot later on in life, I wish I would have known this as well, because, to be honest, a Christian university might have been a good fit for me, a better fit than the school that I went to, right? But again, I can't get into the specifics. And again, I'm not saying that because I work for a Christian university. That's just the truth. But this idea, I just want to kind of, give you this idea of what Christian education is. It's this idea of I can still be, go to do the things that in terms of to be a doctor, right? I could go to a Christian university and get the education like I would at a non-Christian university and still become a doctor, still apply and get to med school and do that. But the difference is this idea that the idea of worldview is going to be mixed into that. This idea of Christian worldview is going to be something that's just, incorporated into the experience. So not just academically, I'm going to be challenged to do well, but we really believe, and in Christian university, is that we really look at the whole person. So we're not the only Christian university. There's a lot of the Christian universities are in Canada. But this idea is that we don't just look at the academics, we look at the whole person. And one aspect that we look at is in terms of their faith. We want students to grow in their faith. We want students to really thrive in their faith, to understand what it really means to flesh out what does it mean to be a Christian. I'm no longer with my parents. I no longer have to go to church. I have a lot more freedom. I have all these big choices on my plate. I have a lot of pressure on me. What does it mean to be a Christian? Those aren't easy questions to answer, right? So, this is at a Christian university. This is something that's going to be integrated into my education. All right. So in terms of, so that's kind of the idea of a Christian university. This idea, again, if you choose not to go to a Christian university, I didn't go to a Christian university, and that's totally fine as well. We just know that, for some people, like myself, when I was in high school, this could have been, I would have seriously considered this if I would have known that this was available. All right. And it would have been, looking back in my life, it would have been a better fit. But it's not for everybody. And that's just me being real about it. All right, let's continue on. So we're trying to go for 8 more minutes, and I'll leave 10 minutes for questions. All right, you guys doing okay? You guys all right? All right, cool. So for this next slide, it's called the core. Who has heard of the term liberal arts school? Liberal arts university, yeah? Okay. Sorry, I can't, where's this chat function? I'm trying to bring the chat window. Sorry, I'm not the most tech savvy person. I feel like I can't bring it up. Where is it? Okay, I can't see it. It's okay. All right. So this idea of liberal arts. So we're not going to go into the specifics of it, but we're a liberal arts and science school. So the way we structure kind of, oh, there it is. There we go. There's a chat. Awesome. One of the things that I want to do to, I'll pause here for a second. I'm going to share a link with you for a second. So if you wanted to get some more information, also too, I wanted to do a quick raffle to you today, just for, Redeemer swag bag here. So one of you is going to win this today, just by participating, and how you can get in this draw. So basically in here is a $15 Starbucks card. There's a Redeemer t-shirt, stuff like that. And this bag as well. So all you have to do is just give us some of your information, and we'll send you some information in terms of whatever you you're interested in. Yes, merch. But yeah, so all you got to do is do a reply card. In terms of, we would love to send you some more information about our school. To say, for example, you're interested in studying business, we can send you some information on our business program. Okay. Totally, you can do that, and then I'll contact Cyril afterwards, and after I get a chance just to randomly pick a winner, and then we can mail that out to you as soon as possible. All right. So this idea of liberal arts science university, I'm going to just kind of speed through this a little bit, and I'm not going to get through everything I want to get through, and that's totally fine.
Sorry,
right.
Kim,
Yes.
we're still seeing the why does it all matter slide. Not sure if you're showing a different slide.
Why does it all matter? Oh, really?
Right.
Okay, give me a second.
Right.
Oh, thank you for saying that. You probably have no idea what I'm talking about. Okay, here we go. There we go. Thanks, Cyril, for that. Are you seeing that now? All right, awesome. So this is just kind of what your degree could look like in the liberal arts, and this is just how we do it. But basically, at other schools, if you go to a liberal arts school, is this idea that we want you to be well-rounded, and you're not just going to be studying in one area, but it's going to be studying in multiple areas. So at Redeemer, our approach to liberal arts and science is that we believe, if you want to be a business student, that's totally fine. But we also feel like there's also valuable courses that you can take no matter what you're going to do. It's going to kind of make you well-rounded. So for example, as a business student, personally speaking, my example is one of the reasons why I chose, it was kind of process of elimination. I didn't know what I wanted to study after high school, but I knew I didn't want to be a doctor. I knew I didn't want to be a dentist. I knew I didn't want to be an entrepreneur, but I thought, hey, you know what? Business seems the most practical, and I'm decent at math, and I like accounting in university or high school. Maybe I should be, a business student. But one of the things that I didn't do that well in English. I did okay, but it was very painful for me. I worked hard, but I was not naturally good at writing papers. So I thought, I don't want to pick a program. I don't want to study English in university because I don't want to write papers, right? But this idea, though, is that eventually caught up to me, is that sometimes you got to do things in your job that you're not very good at, but you got to develop it, right? So some aspects of it, even Cyril's job that he doesn't maybe necessarily love. Right, that some of you are misbehaving, and he needs to kind of say, hey, that's not really cool that you did that, right? That's not a good conversation to have. You may not look forward to that, right? But this idea that that we need to be able to learn things that maybe will be useful. So this idea of writing papers is a very valuable skill. Idea of speaking and articulating your thoughts, right? It's something that is valuable. So in these yellow courses, these yellow hexagons throughout this program, will be programs that you have to, or courses that you have to take in a liberal arts degree to kind of make you well-rounded and feeling that, these are some courses that we think are important no matter what you want to be. Okay. So one of these courses, this number one here, is the drama of scripture. So we think, 1 out of the 40 courses in your university degree, no matter what you want to study, it should be one of these courses, right? And this course specifically looks at the Bible. So whether you're being, I don't want to be a religion major, right? I don't want to work in youth ministry. Why do I got to take a course on the Bible? We believe it's important, and we believe that no matter where you're, this will be helpful to you as you, go on to wherever God is calling you to go. Okay, we're gonna move on. Let's see. There we go. So these are some of the programs that we offer at our school. And in terms of, so I just want you to view this, and in terms of think about, there may be a couple of things that you're thinking about as the next step. I'm thinking about biology, but I'm also thinking about music. Really passionate about music. I'm thinking about psychology, but I'm also thinking about English, and I'm also thinking about chemistry. How do I decide that? So some of those questions, those little exercises that we went through, those are just kind of the start, right? Like I mentioned too, something that you want to pray about. You want to be real with yourself. Why do you want to be a doctor, right? One of the reasons why I wanted to be a doctor growing up, because I knew that it would make my family happy. And it would also meet that requirement of making a lot of money so that I could bless my family. Nothing wrong with that. But for me, it just wasn't meant to be. I didn't want to be a doctor. But it's good things to kind of, and also too, to get godly counsel is something that I would advise it to, for you guys as well. Your parents know you pretty well. Some of your friends that you trust and you value their opinion. Hey, I was thinking about this. Like, do you see me being a doctor? Do you see me like, what I'm good at? That, can you pray with me about this? And I think it's also something that I regret not doing growing up. So yeah, these are a bunch of different things. And one of the things at our school, so let's say you want to study social work at our school, but we also want to challenge you to have a minor. So meaning that you'll be having a smaller concentration. So you'd be taking, let's say, potentially 12 courses, or no, let's say 18 courses of psychology. We'd encourage you to say, hey, you know what? You have to minor in something as well. So you got to pick something secondary. And we just think that's a very practical thing, right? To be also well-versed in something else. But clearly what liberal arts and science education is that you can kind of customize your degree. So for example, let's say you want to study art, but you also want to minor in business. And one of the reasons why you want to do that is because you want to be a teacher, but then also after that, after teaching for 10 or 15 years or whatever, you also maybe want to open up your own music shop. So being able to do that, or that can also interchange art in there, study, major in art, but also minor in business, and kind of, use both of those two things in your future job. All right. My time is running out, but that's totally fine. And I'm going to try to squeeze a couple of things that I feel like that are useful. I'm just going to fly through this. So one of the things at our school that we believe is really important is getting hands-on experience. So whatever school that you end up going to, co-ops, internships, I highly recommend these things. It's not just about making money. For us at our school, co-op, you'd be making money. Internships, you won't be, but you'll be getting school credit. But I think the thing that connects both of those things is that you're getting experience in this work field. It's very practical. So, for example, before you kind of commit the next 10 or 15 years of your life doing accounting, you kind of want to see what it's like to be an accountant. So, that's not the only way you could do that, but that's one way you could do that. Actually work in an accounting office, right? Seeing what they do, and for example, it may be, hey, you know what? You want to be a business student, but accounting may not be your thing. And after doing co-op, you may realize, hey, this is maybe not my thing, or this is not the exact kind of accounting that I want to. I want to go into a different area of accounting. So, you wouldn't know that unless you try it. At our school, we don't want you just to know the theory, but we want you to apply that, right? We want to apply that into the real life and in terms of developing those practical skills that will make you employable when you graduate, okay? So faith. So one of the things, going to a Christian university, that's definitely going to be on the radar in terms of it being kind of integrated into everything. Right. So whether it's in the classroom, whether it's off campus, whether it is what's happening on campus, weekly chapel, all these different things, it's one of those things where we believe that it's not just a part. It's not just like on Wednesdays when we have chapel is when you think about God, or but it's basically this idea of when you're in that 4 years when you're at Redeemer, how is faith? How you in your faith, and how is God involved in every aspect of it. So what you're learning in the class, when you're struggling with whatever you're struggling with, whether it's the material, whether it's relationships, whether it's your health or whatever it may be, where is God in that? And being in a community, one of the things that we hear a lot from our students and also our past students is they really enjoyed this idea of living in a community where people are, have a common faith in God. Right. So being able to really be challenged to be, hey, how can I do well in school, do well academically, do well socially, but also do well in my faith? All right. Residents, one of the cool things in our dorms, the way we do it is that it's kind of like a small group. And one of the things that you really grow together. At Redeemer, the average class size is 24. So that's really small for a university, right? So being able to, and this one little thing before I move on, open up the questions, is this idea that, the professors at our school, they're going to know your name. And if you don't show up to class, they're going to know, hey, Louis, you haven't shown up the last couple of weeks. What's going on? Like, who you trying to fool? Like, there's 8 people in this class, right? But all kidding aside, someone's going to know if I don't show up. If I'm going through something, someone's going to notice pretty quickly, hey, does anybody know where Louis is? Is he okay? Right? But also, the cool thing about it too, after my 4 years at Redeemer, I'm going to be able to have a professor who cares for me, not just academically, but in every aspect of my life, but also he wants me to do well when I graduate. right? So just the story that I'll share with you, one of the professors was sharing this in one of our sessions, was saying, hey, like, he shared about a story of a past student where he's walking past a job board. He didn't have to do this. He wasn't on the clock. He saw a job posting, like, hey, this student would be great for this. He just graduated. Hey, why don't you apply for this job? That student got that job, loves it, right? So, this idea of, being in a smaller environment, being able to have professors have that contact, and they would know who you are. So they're able to write recommendations for med school. They're able to, help you network and get a job after school, right? A lot of them have worked in that field, and they know a lot of connections. So this is a lot of different things where, if you went to a large school, that may not be something that you could do, right? All right, cool. Yeah, there's just a lot of different ways to get involved on campus as well, to really grow in your faith, whether that's, serving in student senate, student newspaper, whatever that is. There's a lot of different options that are available there on campus. So you know what? One more thing that I'll throw in there as well. I think Cyril was mentioning there's some athletes there. So whether you want to play varsity, we have 4 different sports that we have varsity. As Coach Tom was saying, I'm very curious to know what his son's name was. But yeah, I'm sure having him as a dad, he would have been really well coached in terms of his fundamentals. But anyways, soccer, basketball, volleyball, cross country are sports that we have. That's men's and women's. We play in the OCAA. And something with COVID definitely is affecting it, but teams are still training. And for the sake of our athletes, I really hope, that they're able to play this upcoming year, but you never know, right? With COVID, in terms of their safety, in terms of the safety of our society, we may have to, wait another year for sports, right? But one of the cool things is that at our school, we were able to kind of really see student athletes grow in their actual sport, see them from first year to last year. But also see them mentored in their faith, academically as well, and in all these different areas, right? We want them to do well. We're in a small, tight-knit community, and in terms of, like, there's a good chance in your dorm, right? You'll be living with 7 other people of the same sex. So if you're a girl, there'll be 7 other girls. Most likely, one of your people that are living in your dorm is on a team, and you can walk 5 minutes from your dorm into the gym and support them, right? So that's another way to get involved at our school. We're known for really loud fans, right? We're a small school, but we have loud fans, right? And I'll pretty much leave it at that. The last thing that I'll leave here is, if you're interested in applying, getting more information, please reach out to us, redeemer.ca. That's how you would apply. If you're interested in possibly applying, you're still able to do that for next year. If you want any more follow-up information, I can give you my email. Once I stop sharing my screen, I'll give you my email here, and you can always reach out to me. But yeah, I just wanted to encourage you, and I thank you for listening me to talk for the last 40 minutes or so. Just give me a second. Yeah, just give me my email. If you just want to reach out to me, I can definitely come and talk to you, set up a virtual meeting. And again, no pressure, right? Just wanted to kind of inform you of what is out there. So whatever you decide, one of the things that I just want to leave you with before I take on a question is, talk to your parents, talk to people that talk to your youth leaders, talk to your pastors, and say, hey, can you pray with me with this stuff? Like, what do you think that I'd be good at? You've known me the last 4 or 5 years, or since I was a little kid. What can you see me doing? Where do you think God is calling me, right? But also, too, yourself, you have to pray about it. You have to pray about where God is calling you, and be real with yourself. Why do I want to be a doctor? Why do I want to be, and if it's something that you really feel passionate about, go for it, right? If you feel, if you make a mistake, you make a mistake, right? If God wants you to go somewhere, He's going to open that door. I remember for me, I'll share this one quick story, and then we'll leave space for some questions. I remember after I graduated from a university with a business degree, I was just kind of not happy with life in terms of my job, my career. I was not going where I wanted to go. But one thing that God kind of, picked me up with, and one thing that brought me joy, was serving in youth ministry. And then I remember God said, hey, Louis, I want you to go back to school. I ran away from that. I pulled a Jonah. I ran. I said, God, I think you're right. But maybe after I get a job, make some money for my parents, and then I'll do what you want me to do. I don't want to write papers. That's what seminary is all about. I don't want to do that. But in the end, God opened that door. I remember when I told my dad said, I said to my dad, I want to go back to school. Okay, for what? To be a pastor. My dad said no. My dad says that, you know what? I'm not going to support you anymore. I'll be, and I was like, what? I thought God was calling me to this. And my dad said, no, I love you, but I can't support this. You'll be my son always. I love you for that, but I'm not going to help you paying your rent or whatever, maybe you're paying for your school again. I can't do it. But for me, I was, and I'm an emotional guy. Normally I would be in tears if my dad said that to me, but God gave me this peace. Say, you know what? I brought you here. I'm gonna take you where you need to go. I want you to go. I'm gonna make it happen. Long story short, I remember. So what? Even my dad doesn't want me to go to seminary, I'm gonna go because I believe that's where God is calling me. And eventually, my dad will turn around. He'll have a change of heart. But one thing that happened, just so you know, to give you an encouragement, God did it in His own time, and it was faster than I thought. It was like, I don't know, it's a long time ago, but maybe about a month later, my dad called me. He never calls me. We grew up in a culture like that. And he said, Louis, I changed my mind. I was wrong. I'll support you in any way you need to, any way you need me. I changed my mind. I'm sorry. Right. I don't know if he said I'm sorry specifically, but basically that's what I heard from what he said. I'm going to support you. And he basically did. I went to seminary, I graduated, and a large part of that was because of my dad's support. And I remember, it's praise to God for that, right? So I just wanted to encourage you with that. Say, hey, you know what? Just like Coach Tom said, like if you feel like you want to do something, you got to work, but also, you gotta get the help from other people, and you have to put the work in. You gotta ask the questions. You gotta be passionate about it. You gotta want it, right? Because there are going to be some obstacles, and I think the biggest thing too is that how are you going to let God help you in these things? When you have if you're struggling with your grades, are you going to work hard? But are you also going to ask God to help you? God, give me wisdom. Because it's not just about the grades. It's not just about the money. It's about really involving God in the process, right? God, how can I be a good student? How can you help me, through this, and really involving God in all of that. And I think that's something that I just wanted to encourage you with you today. Questions? Sorry, I went over a little bit, 1 minute. But any questions, but if anything else that I can get to, I'll definitely, please email me, whether it's related to our school or not. But anything related to our talk today, please feel free to ask me a question and I can answer my best I can. Christian University is more expensive than regular University of Ontario. The answer is yes, they can be. Not necessarily, but in general, with the disclaimer there, I would say they can be. So private university can be, and usually is more expensive than a non-private university. But I could talk to you more about the numbers. It may not be as much as you may think. All right. Does medium university accept native status? I would have to get back to you on that one, Tanisha. I'm not too sure on that answer. But if you wanted to, I can get back to you on that one. Thank you, Isaac. All right, any other questions? All right, great. I'm not sure if any of you have done it, but yeah, so that link that I gave you, please sign up for that reply card. I would love to give away this bag to one lucky person. And yeah, so if there's only like 5 people that are sending it in, you have a 20% chance of getting it. And I can definitely mail that out to you. Oh yeah, one other thing is I want to make sure it gets to the right house. So if you do win, just make sure you put your address in correctly so that I can mail it to you and not your neighbor. Okay? All right, cool. That's my time. I really appreciate it.
Right. Wow, that's awesome. Thank you so much, Louis. We are very, very, very grateful. People, the time is up here, but still have time for more 1 or 2 questions. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Whilst I tell Louis, thank you. This has been very, very good. I see one question that has come in. There were no computer science or engineering programs.
Yes, that's correct. We used to have a computer science program, but we currently don't, and we don't have engineering programs. So if you feel like you want to become an engineer and you're pretty set on that, then Redeemer probably isn't the school for you in terms of it, because we don't offer engineering. But if it's something like, for example, some students, they're kind of leaning towards that, but they may possibly become, studying math at university as well. That could also be an option. We do offer a math program, but if you're already set on engineering, then another school would probably be a better fit.
Okay. And a question for myself, besides Redeemer University, what other Christian universities do you know of in Ontario?
In Ontario, I know we have Tyndale in Toronto, great school as well. So Tyndale University, they also have seminary as well. We're not a seminary, but also in terms of that, if you're feeling led to go to seminary as well, they offer that as well. I see another. In terms of there's a bunch of other schools that are like Bible colleges, but I know some of them have kind of changed. So I know I'm not the greatest at giving in terms of the schools. I think there's Heritage. There's a couple other ones. There's a bunch in BC and stuff, and other places in Canada. But in terms of Ontario, Tyndale and ourselves are the ones that come to mind. And I'm sorry, I don't know all the names of the other universities, but I know some of them are like in terms of like they offer like Bible certificates and things like that, but not necessarily university degrees. In Ontario, I believe, I could be wrong, please don't quote me on this, but I think Tyndale and us, in terms of that, there may be one more other school, but it's just not coming to mind right now.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think another question I had, do you have to be in grade 12 to enter? No, you don't. So as long as you're in grade 9 to grade 12, even in grade 8, I'll accept a grade 8 student if you're here today, just enter in into that, but just kind of put that into the that card. Good question.
Interesting. Okay.
All right.
Are there financial aid options for Redeemer?
Yes, definitely. We have automatic scholarships that are based on your grades. So if your grades are really good, you don't even have to apply. You could be eligible there. So if you're in the 85 range and higher, that could be something. One of the things that I encourage you to look at when you're looking at universities too, because like to answer that question, I know there was a little bit of a loaded question in terms of is Christian university more expensive? The answer could be yes. But in terms of that, because like private school versus public school, right? If you look at that, going to a high school, a public school is free. If you go to a private, if you go to, so the cost is different, but the experience is different. But again, I went to a public school as well in high school, so there's nothing wrong with that either. My brother went to a private high school, right? The experience is different though, right? And we believe there's value in it as well. So, but again, it all depends. Other schools can be more expensive as well, but in general, I think there's safe to say that a private school versus a public school, private is going to be more expensive. Was there another part of that question that I missed? Sorry.
No, that's it.
Oh, okay.
You hit it.
Oh yeah. So finances, yeah. So there are scholarships. There's bursaries. Even it being a private institution, you're still eligible to apply for OSAP. So we encourage our students to apply for OSAP, especially during COVID as well. We found that the government has been very supportive when it comes to grants and things. So there's a lot of, from what I've heard, there's a lot of financial support as well.
Wow. Thank you.
Just one more thing, Cyril. Just to go on in terms of tuition. Our tuition may be higher than a lot of schools, but one of the things that just kind of happened a year ago is that we had a giant tuition reduction of 42%. So it used to be just in tuition for 1 year, it used to be 17,000. Now it's 9,800. So that's still a lot of money. You're still looking at 10,000 for 1 year, but in terms of the value, in terms of the experience, we believe it's worth it, even at the old price tag of 17,000. But now one of the reasons why we were able to do that is through donors who really believe in the mission of Christian University. And they made that possible through donors. Being able to reduce 42% is something that was done to make it more accessible for families that wanted to send their kids, for students that wanted to come, who couldn't afford it at that old rate. So that's one thing that has been done to address that. But definitely something to look at. Talk to your parents about. Finances are really important. Being stewards of what God gives us is something that's important as well.
Yep. Very, very important. No, thank you so much, Louis. We couldn't be more grateful. God richly bless you for taking the time to come show us how we can discover our calling, how we can find our passion, our talent, see the needs, and find that sweet spot that we can make an impact, and also to see what is available to us at Redeemer Christian University over in Hamilton, Ontario. If you haven't already checked it out, redeemer.ca. Is that right? Redeemer.ca. Go there, find out what's available. You would love it. Like he said, he was in high school. If he had known, his path could have gone through a Christian university and would have saved him a lot of time. Now, you can avoid that and check out Redeemer University. Now, I'm sure tonight has been a time of blessing to you. You've learned so many things. I want to leave you off with one thing Coach Tom said, and kudos to my graphics folks. They quickly had that done, and I'm not sure if you can see it. If it's meant to be, it's up to me. Can you see it? Right. If it's meant to be, it's up to me. Now, I want you to keep that in your mind. Don't forget. Study hard as though it all is up to you, and pray as though it all is up to God. God would always push you as you take all the diligence to study. And Louis has shown us that these opportunities are available. You can jump on. If you have good grades, he said, you automatically get into some scholarships and so forth and so forth. God richly bless you. Why don't we have Louis close us in prayer, if you don't mind? There are many youth that are here who are trying to find out what God has for them. I'm sure your prayer will help to push them further. Thank you.
All right, let's pray. God, we just thank you so much for this night. I thank you so much for these young people, for Cyril, just inviting us into this time of thinking about, potentially stressful things. We're in a current climate of uncertainty with COVID and everything affecting us. Thinking about big things, big picture things, such as, what am I going to do after high school? It's stressful. And God, we know that you want to be involved in the process. I thank you so much that we could talk about things like this today. I thank you for these young people and the fact that they could be here to listen and that they're open to what we had to say. Thank you so much for Coach Tom. I pray that you bless him and just to get him to continue to be able to just give back with all the blessings that he's been poured upon, that he may be a blessing in everything that he does and continue to make impact wherever he is. And help us to be encouraged today. Help us to be able to look at the obstacles in our life and know that you're with us. But that also that we need to put the work in as well. That we need to be faithful with the challenges that we're given, and that we're relying on you to help us. So God, we thank you so much for that. Whatever, I know there may be people in this place that are in this call that are struggling with something, whether it's loneliness, whether it is depression, whether it is worry about the future, whether it's in finances. We give this all to you. You're in control, even when we don't feel that. And when we lift up just our uncertainties to you and ask that you would give us peace. Ask that you would help us through these things, and that we would always remember that you care and that you want us to come to you with these things. So when we think about our career, when we think about how you have gifted us, how you have given us passions, help us to give you glory in everything that we do. And as we become, help us to be good students to give you glory. Help us to be faithful with the money that we make in the future to give you glory, and that we may not forget you in the process. In our relationships and in our church life, in our school life, in our every aspect of our life, that we may give you glory, and that we may really live out and understand what it means to be a follower of Jesus Christ. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen. Thank you so much, Louis. Thank you so much, Coach Tom. If you're watching this later, thanks every one of you for coming on. May you have a blessed rest of your evening. And be sure to join us Sunday in our contemporary service. Starts at 11:30 a.m. this Sunday. You will be blessed. God bless you. Have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks so much.